Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about SUI because we've seen SUI's price kind of start to stall out and not really do as much as what we've seen at least in the past 6 to 8 weeks, I would say. And so I want to talk about, is this a problem? So that's what we're going to be going and talking about today. I mean, the short answer I would say is probably no, but there's a lot of different reasons as to why, although we are seeing some less than up only bullish type of vibes. So I did want to talk about that as well. Again, I don't think this changes the answer of long term. I don't think it's a big deal, but we do at least just need to talk about this because, as I have mentioned several times in basically every video I make about SUI, I am not expecting to hold SUI through the next bear market just because I think SUI is going to get crushed. And so we're also going to be talking about that a little bit as well. So anyway, let's go ahead, dive right in. Starting out, let's take a look at crypto bubbles. We can see overall the market pretty green on the day. We can see SUI here at plus 3.2%. The ones leading the market here being Curve, AI16Z, Radium, Theta. Those are kind of the big ones. But overall, we are seeing SUI at least start to turn green, which is good. We are sitting back at green on the week, month, and year, So we can kind of see that SUI actually, though, still kind of red on the week, which not too big of a deal. We are only down 5.5%. But overall, we have started to see, this is a little bit indicative of we have started to see SUI struggle a little bit from what we have seen historically. It used to be that, if the market average is up 5%, SUI was up 10%, right? And so the fact that we are seeing, kind of the market average being green and SUI being red is kind of indicative of that kind of trend shift that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. And so if we do look at the chart specifically, we can see kind of just that, right? So let's actually zoom this in a little bit and kind of take a look at some closer price action. So obviously, if we look back through, October, let's say, up until now, obviously, very, very good signs. We could see some major moves to the upside. But even if we just look at the last month, let's say, not a whole lot going on, obviously, right? It's been pretty flat overall, not a whole lot of movement in price. We can see about 418 right now. Starting, we can see price about 375. So obviously up still a little bit, but not as much as what we've kind of seen again in the past, where we just have kind of seen this parabolic run up. We've seen a lot of resistance here at this kind of $5 range, constantly wicking up toward it and close to it, but never really being able to break through. And so I think this is something where it's the more you try and test something and get rejected, the more that it's kind of like a weight on the chart overall. And so I do think we are starting to see a little bit of that. Overall, though, we're still seeing the price of SUI hold very, very well, still above $4. So not even down a total of 20% from the all-time highs that we were seeing. So again, I don't think this is a huge deal, but for those of us who are maybe a little bit less patient, especially when we're seeing AI coins run and we're seeing a really big rotation into AI coins. Again, we've been talking about virtuals on the channel. AI16Z has been another one, Truth Terminal. There's a whole bunch of AI narratives really starting to kick off. And so when we're starting to see that, they've kind of taken over SUI's place as kind of the golden child of the charts and the crypto bubbles, everything. They're all green only, and SUI started to struggle a little bit. The reason why I think we have seen this is a couple of different reasons. So the first one I would say is probably the most obvious, in the sense that SUI has already run, a really insane amount, even just from the beginning of August to now, or let's say at the tops, we were down at 50 cents to highs of almost $5. This was a 10x run in 3 months, 4 months. Really, really outstanding returns in a very short period of time. And so I think what we could potentially be seeing here is a little bit of what we've also seen on Solana's chart as well. Solana has done a well over 10x run in the past year or so. SUI's done a 10x run in the past 3 months or so. And so I do think there are people that might be potentially rotating out of their SUI bags, trying to find some of these other higher risk, higher reward types of plays. Think about virtuals. Virtuals has run an unbelievable amount just in the past month, and at this point in time, it could still run 3 or 4x just to catch up to what SUI's market cap is right now. And that's not the fully diluted, that is just kind of the liquid market cap today. So I think that's probably the first reason as to why we're seeing SUI's price struggle a little bit. Now, before we jump to the second reason that I think SUI could be struggling, I did want to talk to you about BTCC. If you are looking to trade SUI, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything like that, feel free to use my link in the description below for BTCC. I am still working with BTCC. They are slowly doing that 10% bonus on first-time deposits, which, if you ask me, is a really, really good deal. This is in addition to the extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user, which in itself, in my opinion, is a fantastic deal. But this is essentially guaranteed money because you just have to deposit money and then you get 10% bonus on it, which is fantastic. So if you were to deposit, let's say $10,000, you would essentially get $1,000 for free to start trading on and go from there. And so obviously a really, really good deal. They've been around for 13 years, so you don't really have to worry about about them being like a here today, gone tomorrow type of exchange. They've been around longer than probably most of us. Also, they have 300 plus crypto futures, so they have probably anything you're wanting to trade. Also up to 500x leverage. Again, I'd strongly discourage leverage that high, but if you have some strategy that works for you or whatever, they do have that possibility. But again, like, be very, very careful when you're using any type of leverage or any amount of leverage at all. Also, no VPN or KYC necessary. So if that is something that works for you, then great. And also, they do just have normal like spot trading and spot exchanges if you are like not wanting to do much leverage trading. So that's another option as well. So like I said, if you're looking for a new exchange or maybe even want to diversify out to a second or third, just feel free to use the link in the description below and you will get that 10% bonus on those first time deposits. So moving on to the second reason that I think SUI might be struggling a little bit is because I think the market overall, or the market as a whole, is kind of coming a little bit off of like the euphoria of the price appreciation that we've seen out of SUI, and they started to look a little bit deeper, right? And they've started to look a little bit deeper into the SUI ecosystem, seeing that there really isn't too much there, right? And this isn't a bad thing. This isn't to say that the SUI ecosystem is bad. It's, underwhelming, anything like that. It's just the reality of it's a new chain. This is kind of like Solana in last cycle, where yeah, the chain could be good and the TPS could be good and yeah, this, that, and whatever else, except for the fact that like there's not really a whole lot to do on the SUI chain. And so I think people might be waking up to that a little bit more, and kind of some of the euphoria or the optimism is cooling off a little bit. I would say there's probably only a handful of projects on SUI that are really doing anything particularly interesting or helping build out the ecosystem. And this isn't unusual, right? A lot of this stuff just takes time. And so I'm not trying to like throw any FUD onto SUI or anything like that. I think it just takes time. It's just reality. And so that's one thing that I think people might be waking up to a little bit. And if we do look at DeFi Llama, we can see this, right? I mean, by all metrics, we can see TVL, it obviously exploded, but it has started to kind of stagnate out a little bit, this being kind of the blue chart that we are seeing here. So it's starting to stagnate out a little bit. We can see volume still going up a pretty decent bit, but pulling back and kind of starting to find a little bit more of an average. Obviously, $300 million daily is, or maybe even 400 million kind of being the average. Fantastic amounts of money. So, not a bad thing by any means, but just something where, we might be starting to find a little bit more of like a consolidationary period before we wait for that next leg up that probably be brought around by some new innovation or technology or something that is unlocked on the SUI chain. The other thing that we have been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, basically for as long as I've been covering and talking about SUI, is we can see that we haven't really seen that breakthrough on stablecoins on the SUI ecosystem. And again, as I've said before, this isn't like the only way to like value SUI, and like this is kind of like an indirect method, but essentially my reasoning behind this is if there's something to do on SUI, you're probably going to hold stablecoins there because you may not want to be directly exposed to the volatility of the SUI coin itself, but there's stuff you want to do in the SUI ecosystem, and so you may want to keep some money in stables. And we can see that we still have not breached previous all-time highs of about the $425 to $430 million. We're actually sitting right now at about $380 million. So again, very, very close to all-time highs, but we are not seeing the like continued accrual of stablecoins on the SUI network. And so this is something to me that again kind of indicates that there might not be a whole lot to do on the SUI ecosystem just because they haven't really seen a whole lot of value accrual kind of coming there via stablecoins. And so that's something I've been looking at. What we can see if we look at the top, obviously Ethereum far and away in first place. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Then we see Solana, which again I think makes a little bit of sense. Tron, a little bit of a surprising one there, just kind of where it ranks in terms of coin by market cap. Then we've got Bitcoin, Binance Smart Chain, Base, Arbitrum, Hyperliquid, SUI. So, down a little bit further than, maybe we might expect based on like where its price or the coin price is in the market cap. So that is something that we also need to take a look at and consider a little bit as well, because we can see some of these largest coins, SUI, Cardano, XRP, some of these, like as far as like their ecosystems, they aren't very well built out or fleshed out. And so this is something that we also kind of need to consider when we're looking at, what could be undervalued, what could be overvalued, all of that type of stuff. And so anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking at for SUI. Overall, as we can see, SUI's still looking to be in a really great position. I think what we're seeing right now is people are trying to figure out what the true value of SUI is. Obviously, we've seen SUI run and do some crazy returns, things like that. But as we are starting to see price consolidate a little bit, people are, I think, trying to figure out, well, like how much further can it go. Again, so much of crypto is a speculation game, and so it's hard to really know how do we objectively value SUI. I mean, it's not really making much money. It's not really bringing a whole bunch of like value back to investors. I mean, there obviously are, like, there are some ways in terms of like staking and liquidity pools and stuff like that, but overall, I mean, it's not like there's a super tangible way to value that. And so I think the market right now is trying to figure out, well, you know, is SUI going to keep running? Is money better spent potentially elsewhere? I mean, there's a lot of different things to consider there when we are thinking about, you know, where do we put our money and how do we best allocate our assets within crypto. And so overall, I think that's probably why SUI's price is struggling a little bit. Again, though, crypto is very, very, very like cyclical or circular, I guess you could say. So that things are always kind of rotating from one like narrative or asset class to the other. Obviously, AI is kind of having its time in the sun right now. And so we're seeing a lot of AI tokens, narratives, things like that running. And so we're going to see a little bit of kind of everything else subside a little bit. And that's totally normal. And so we just kind of need to be ready for that, accept that. And overall, I mean, with what we're seeing in SUI's price, keep in mind, we're still not down even 20% from all-time highs. And so this is something that I really think we should be kind of keeping in the front of our mind, is that even though it may not be going up like we've been used to and kind of like expecting and whatnot, it's also not really going down either. So it has been holding its price really well. It's been pretty reliable so far up until this cycle. And so I do think we will see more from SUI before the end of things, you know, at least in terms of this bull run. And so anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe, because it really, really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, just drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.